Fresh from their split with Ford, Mazda are out to create themselves a catalogue of decent cars. We've driven the 2, the 3, the MX-5 and the CX-5. And while they might not be the best options in their class, they are very good machines. That MX-5, for example, has just won the World Car of the Year title. And now we have ourselves the CX-3. This is the compact relation of the CX-5 crossover. You only have to look at two things to be instantly impressed by this car. The first is the spec sheet, which we'll get to later. The second is the looks. Just like other new Mazdas, the styling of this car is brilliant. They seem to have applied a fairly straightforward and simple formula to all their models. Get the proportions right, give it the right amount of detail, and make sure it looks like nothing else in its class. And while that works for all its other models, for the CX-3 it is particularly good. This is a superb looking little thing. The only other option in this class that offers anything in the way of standout styling is the Nissan Juke, although I think the CX-3 will be a little more universally popular than that car. There really is nothing over the top with the CX-3. Every element is well considered, every detail is where it needs to be, and it just looks like it'll be an enjoyable drive. The most obvious clue to that is how wide it looks, particularly from the back, giving the impression of decent handling. On styling alone, the CX-3 has to be one of the best cars in its class, but there's more to that than just being pretty. There is, of course, the small matter of the drive, and curiously, while Mazda have opted for cutting-edge styling for all their cars, the drivetrain options are a little bit more old school. It doesn't mean they're old engines, it just means that not a single one is turbocharged, and the same goes with the CX-3. At a time when most manufacturers are going with small capacity turbo motors for this kind of car, Mazda has stuck with a bigger, naturally aspirated option. I wasn't blown away by the 2-litre petrol in the Mazda 3. In truth, it was pretty underwhelming. And that same motor is what's powering our test car, so I'm expecting the same in here. In fact, I'm expecting even less, because with 115 kilowatts and 204 newton meters, this car has even less power than the 3. Sure, it weighs 100 kilograms less, and Mazda does promise that the 6-speed automatic gearbox in here combines the best characteristics of a dual clutch and a traditional automatic and a CVT. I'm not even sure that that's technically possible, but I do know that it feels like a much more convincing setup. It's not an electrifying drive by any stretch, but used for the purposes for which it was designed, it really is quite okay. It does get a little noisy as you approach the red line, which needs to happen if you want to make any sort of rapid forward progress, but in traffic and on the highway, it does what it needs to do well enough. And I guess what it has to do is offer a comfortable, easy, everyday drive, and for those times when its owners are feeling just a little bit adventurous, the raised ride height should offer a little bit of off-road ability as well. And with those criteria in mind, it is a little bit odd that Mazda have fitted this car with a sport mode and shift paddles. But if you put those bits to use, the CX-3 shows off a surprising side to its makeup. It can actually be quite a lot of fun. It's got decent steering, confident handling, and if you keep that motor in its power band, it'll pack on a good dose of speed. I wouldn't say it's completely involving, but it's certainly entertaining, especially because it's not something you'd expect in this kind of car. While the better-than-expected drivetrain and handling are definite highlights of the CX-3, they're by no means its only party tricks. One area in which Mazda have excelled lately is their interiors. They've gone with an almost minimalist, very clean look with very few switches. In fact, even the instrument cluster has only got one analog dial. A lot of the functions are controlled by the MZD Connect with its 7-inch touchscreen, and it's all really nicely done. Details like the stitched material insert on the dashboard and the contrasting pattern plastic in the doors lift it above the ordinary, and it feels as good as it looks. The dynamic spec of our test car does away with a few things you get in the top-of-the-range individual spec, but all of them are bits you can live without. There's no sunroof or head-up display or sat-nav, but there's still Bluetooth, climate control, dual USB, cruise control, and keyless operation. More than enough to make you feel like your 340,000 Rand has been well spent. Load space with the rear seats up or down is above average in its class. And that's a pretty good way to describe that car. It is most certainly above average. It's better looking than most, it can have a more entertaining drive than you might expect, and it has a very well sorted interior. And at 340,000 Rand, it offers really good value. Mazda might be in the throes of re-establishing themselves, but the hits just keep on coming. The CX-3 is the latest in a growing list of impressive cars from Mazda. While the drivetrain may not offer pure excitement, the compact crossover can be fun to drive. Combined with its good looks and well-made and well-specced interior, it is certainly one of the best choices in its class, and that's without even considering its strong value proposition.